How do you feel about this? What do you think of the idea of deporting someone's entire family because one family member committed a crime? It sounds harsh, but this is a policy being considered by One Nation leader Pauline Hanson. It's reported today Pauline Hanson wants the families of immigrants who've committed extreme crimes to face deportation. Not the criminal themselves, but the criminal's loved ones, mum or dad or brothers or sisters, I suppose. She says it's high time that parents start taking more responsibility for the actions of their children. She says more must be done to create strict laws and regulations that protect our national security and reduce the risk of terrorism and radicalisation. What do you think of the idea? Personally, I don't think it's right to go punishing parents for the sins of the child. I don't think it's right to punish children for the crimes of mum or dad either. I've always thought that collective punishment is just plain wrong. Pauline Hanson's on the line, the One Nation leader for the first time in 2018. Hello, Pauline Hanson. How are you?
Hello, Ben. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Can we still say Happy New Year on January 25?
Well, it's the first time I've spoken to you this year. So, yes, I am.
Happy Australia Day for tomorrow. Now, this sounds pretty harsh, Pauline.
And it's about time we got harsh on this, Ben. You're talking about parents and the children. It's just not that. If you've got people in this country who are fathers and they have their children, they've got their wives, well, they've got to stop and think, hey, it's not about me anymore. I can go out there and try and be a martyr. I'm actually going to go out there and do some harm to society. I don't care about anyone but myself. Well, it goes beyond themselves now. They have to think about their wife and their children. They've left the country for a better way of life. And as far as I'm concerned, if they want to come out and commit a crime against our society, which carries a harsh penalty, and they're not an Australian citizen, well, you may think twice about it if you're going to get your family deported. And if the wife has any influence or the husband has any influence over that person wishing to commit the crime, then they may actually be able to convince them and say, hey, listen, don't do it.
I've come across some pretty hopeless parents in my time, Pauline. I'm sure you have as well. But on the other hand, I've also seen plenty of families where the child has done the most horrific thing and you're sitting down with the mum or dad interviewing them and they look at you and just say, look, we just don't know how this happened. We did everything in our power to try and make sure they were on the right path. But once they reach a certain age, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to control someone who's their own person. It is
extremely hard. And again, they will sort of think twice about it. Well, look, and as I said, in certain circumstances, you think the people in Melbourne really like these gangs of young kids running around and the fear that we have on the streets. I'm in Townsville at the moment. There is so much crime that's up here. They've got carjacking from 550 a year up to 1,020 a year. Nothing's done about it. People are fed up with the politicians. They're fed up with the court system. They're fed up with the judges because there's not harsh enough penalties. And I can tell you something from experience, Ben. I have been to prison. I know what it's like to be in prison. And if you commit a crime in our society, you know what? It's a holiday in there. They have decent meals. They have their air conditioning. They have personal trainers. They have their education. They can do whatever they want to do. Yet, if someone who is, committing a crime, they think, oh, well, I'm going to get put in prison, so what? I'll spend a bit of time there, but if I get away with my crime, I've profited from it.
So you think the threat of their parents being kicked out of the country might just have a lot of people thinking, well, hang on a moment, it's just not me involved here?
You know what? It might shake up some parents to think, I'm going to take an interest in where my kid is and what they're doing so they're not roaming the streets at night. I'm talking about those ones who are non-Australian citizens that have come here to this country. Everyone has to start taking responsibility for themselves. And yes, I quite understand. You can't have, total control over your kids, knowing where they are every minute of the day. But we're talking about serious offences that is happening. And we're seeing kids who are 15 who shot Curtis Chang, and his parents said, I know nothing about it. Well, he was at the mosque and he was getting gunned. The parents have to start realising, taking responsibility. And I'm saying, and the public are screaming out for it, they just want someone to start doing something about it. And our politicians and state governments and our laws to give them protection. I'm talking to aged people who fear to go out of their houses at night. They have to lock the whole house up. This is not the society I want to live in, Ben. If people we have to set an example and start getting tough in our society if we want to live in peace and harmony, or is our streets going to be war zones, in the not too distant future, because we're too gutless to actually take a tough stance and say, that's our laws in this country. If you don't like it, then go somewhere else to live in the world.
I want to know what you think about this afternoon. You can call me 131873. We're talking to Pauline Hanson. Just a couple of quick ones, Pauline. Company tax cuts. This is going to be a big one on the agenda this year, and I know the Coalition is obviously trying and has been failing to get these company tax cuts through. The International Monetary Fund has given Donald Trump a big tick for slashing the US company tax rate from 35% to 20%. Now, I know that Labor's standing in the way and the Greens are standing in the way and the Xenophon team is standing in the way, but One Nation is standing in the way of these company tax cuts as well here in Australia. Why are you doing that?
All right. We actually gave the government company tax cuts up to $50 million, and that's on turnover. And I understand a lot of big companies out there. Ben, I've been screaming to the government for 20 years now to tackle the multinationals in this country that are not paying their taxes. Jim Colelli in 1996, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxation, said multinationals are ripping out of this country $200 million a year. In the 2014 budget, Tony Abbott said that we will actually start tackling the multinationals. We will recover about $3.9 billion over 3 years, forward estimate. That is a drop in the bucket. Even the figures in 1997, you had multinationals were taking $39 billion out of this country a year in unpaid taxes, and Australian companies were only bringing in $19 billion a year.
But should Australian companies pay the price for that, though? I mean, you're saying multinationals aren't paying their share, and you're right about that, but that's a complex challenge to try and get them to do that. But what about the Aussie companies saying, hey, Pauline, that's not me, that's not my fault that multinationals are doing the wrong thing. I'm paying this big whack and I can't get by here. Pauline, help me out.
Because, Ben, in a lot of ways we can't afford it. This is going to put a hell of a dent in the budget. Until they prove to me they're going to rein in the welfare cheats out there, they're wanting to bring in the NDIS, which is going to cost $21 to $22 billion a year, $2 billion in administration, and it's actually going to, all these people are signing themselves up to be providers, which is going to rip off the system. There's not enough accountability. Do you think that I can pass that they actually increase the Medicare levy tax? So someone who's on $60,000 a year is going to pay another $300 a year when the government is not proving to me they are accountable for the taxpayers' dollars. I want to see, that they are reining in their spending. I want to see that it's going to benefit the Australian people. You've got families, you've got small businesses. They are actually got their backs to the wall, even paying for the groceries, putting on electricity, the whole rest of it. They can't afford it anymore, Ben. I want to see this government rein in their spending. I want to see more accountability. I'm not just going to say, yes, I'm going to support this. They have to prove to me. I have a responsibility to the Australian people. There's a difference with the US government and reducing the cost. They have a different tax system. A lot of these companies cannot claim back their expenses as a tax deduction. So therefore, by dropping their tax is totally different to our system. So we can't base it on what they pay to what we pay. Okay.
I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to talk about that and a whole lot more throughout 2018. Have a good Australia Day. Where are you going to be tomorrow?
I'm going to be in Brisbane. Actually, I'm going to the cockroach races down at the Storybridge Hotel in Brisbane. Anyway, very Aussie, but it's going to be a great day. I wish everyone a happy Australia Day. In my eyes, it will never, ever change. That's from the 26th of January.
I'm with you. Have fun at the cockroach races at the Storybridge Hotel.
Bye, Ben.
Good on you. Pauline Hanson, the One Nation leader, joining us on Sydney Live. Yes, that is a big event. I've got mates in Brisbane who go every year. At the Storybridge Hotel in Brisbane, they have the cockroach races. They have a commentator. In fact, my mate Dobbo, the man on the land, who's now hosting his own radio show in Queensland, he's often the commentator there on Australia Day. So happy Australia Day for tomorrow. Happy Australia Day.